want to make sure that persons are aware while they're here. Keep on top of your contributions. So you want to make sure that all of your contributions are paid. If you're employed by somebody or if you're self-employed and have employees, you want to keep up to date with that. We know that one contribution can make the difference between qualifying for a benefit and not qualifying for it. To do this, you can simply sign up for our Register and Self-Service portal, which is available 24/7. We have a representative at the desk who can help you sign up for that so you can monitor your own contribution status. For persons in attendance, we also have our Easy Renew portal. So if your NIB card is expired, you can use this portal to renew your card, choose which location you want to send it to, start the application. Now you have up to 3 months to finish it, and you can track the process online entirely. For our employers in the room, we also have our Employer Self-Service portal, which gets rid of the manual process of uploading contribution statements and paying. So you can pay through this portal and manage your employee roster yourself. And then the C10 mobile app, which is available on your phone if you are self-employed or have 10 or fewer employers, it does the same thing. So this is our contact information. With that, I'm going to open the floor to questions. And if you're interested, we have representatives at the table to help you register for any of these services or answer any of your compliance questions.
Any questions?
I have a question in terms of, I know you said ensure that your employer pays your NIB. I can speak for myself. I live outside of the country at the moment, but I had a few, when I randomly checked some years back, I had some employers that did not pay my NIB. I have spoken to several of the, inspectors, but to date, I have not gotten any sort of updates on that. How does that work in terms of an employer? Let's say a former employer may have passed away, or maybe the company has ceased operation. What process should that employee, former employee, do in order to get some sort of compensation, ensuring that they did not miss out on the required amount of contribution?
All right, so I actually have with me Mr. Duncombe, who is a senior inspector, so very veteran. He knows his stuff. He will answer that question for you.
Hi, I wish I can tell you some very good news about that, but unfortunately, if the employer has deceased and there's no representative of that company, if the company is closed, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do to recover those contributions, even though they were owed to you. And this is why we are encouraging people to get registered with the RSS portal to make sure they can keep on point, on top of their contribution, so that you won't have to get to the end of your time or your retirement point only to discover that there are no contributions there for you. So we encourage everyone to register on the RSS portal to make sure that you can go every day, every night to check it, because once there's no one that we can go to and get them to sign off on the C10, if they were still alive, and even if they don't make one payment, if they just can sign that document and say that you work, we'll give those contributions to you. But if they're deceased, there's nothing we can do about that anymore. And that's unfortunate, but that's the reality of it.
Well, that was one of my questions. I don't think, I'm just asking, I guess, generally.
Okay.
Not sure if they are deceased, but I was asking that in terms of that. That's...
But if they are still alive, because I mean, for me, I just last couple of weeks got someone to sign off for someone who worked from 1993, and they went back and they signed a documentation to indicate that they worked for that period. Once they signed a document to say that they worked, we gave them the contribution, then we went after them. Now, if they don't want to pay, we put them in court. But we make sure that we cover that for you. But there must be a representative of the company who is willing to say that you've worked for that period of time, and they're prepared to sign off on the documentation, and we'll take it from there.
Okay. Well, okay. I'm not going to just talk about my case. I could talk about that a bit private, but
Okay, no
I
problem.
did do all of my due diligence in terms of provide the information of the former employer once I knew that some of the contribution wasn't made.
Right.
In terms of the employee, how do I'm not speaking just for myself, but
Right.
people may have the question, what would you recommend in terms of them being knowledgeable or having some sort of idea for those employees that may not want the employee to know that they're paying contribution? I've heard of many stories
Right.
where employers take it out of an employee's paycheck, but they do not file with you guys. So what sort of protection would you give that employee to ensure that their contributions are being made?
Okay, well, I just spoke about a few minutes ago, and that's the RSS portal. That's the self-registering portal. If you register with us and you're able to access your contribution online, you don't need the employer to give you permission to see what they paid for you. You can see exactly what they paid for you every single day of the week. So yes, you can go on and check it out. I encourage everyone, and I encourage people to make sure that they are proactive concerning their contribution. Because what we're finding is that people are arriving at 65 only to discover that in 1974 that they work for a company and no one paid for them, and then we can't find anyone. So now you have the privilege of seeing exactly what your employers are doing. And if you come to me and we haven't posted yet, I'll make sure that they are posted so you can keep an up-to-date record of exactly what they pay for you. So you don't need permission from your employer to see what they paid. Come to us, sign up with the RSS portal, and you can see it for yourself. Yes.
Any further questions? I know you all have some questions for NIB. No NIB questions? We're a hot topic. So searching the RSS site, NHI, and retirement, I'm just tying all those different insurances together. How is it that someone who is on retirement, who's starting their own business, do you still have to pay the NIB as it relates to our business?
Yeah.
What do you mean by it?
Yeah, pretty much. For example, let's look at you from a retirement point of view. Say you are 60 or 65 years old and you decide to retire. That's fine, you can retire.
Starting a business, do you still have to pay or apply for the NIB
Yes,
input?
yes, you do. Yes, you do. Now, if you are in receipt of retirement benefit, you only pay on 2%. So you don't have to pay right now. NIB for a self-employed person is 10.3%. You don't pay that. You pay on 2% because you are in receipt of the retirement benefit. So basically, if you're not making a lot of money, it works out to a very small amount. But we want to make sure that if you are in business, that you have the prerequisite to make sure you qualify to get all your business licenses and everything else so you can be able to continue on business because you're still doing business. And the 2% is for industrial accident. In case you fall or get injured on the job after you've retired, you're still covered for industrial injury. That's what 2% is for. An NIB industrial benefit is better than any other insurance company in the whole country. I'm telling you, Family Guardian, the company that I work for, the most they'll pay is on $2 million. That's it. There is no limit the NIB will pay for you. And so that 2% really, truly, it pales in comparison to what NIB will do for you in the future.
Yay, holidays!
How do ideas become plans? Plans become memories.
So you like my new bro?
And dreams become your life.
This is retirement.
Do you remember when hope became a house? When that house became a home? Your ideas are everything, and we're here to help make them happen. Your idea of yes, I can happens here.
In regards to persons who take care of disabled family members, is there a law in the Bahamas that covers those persons in terms of compensation as such?
What do you mean? You take care of somebody who's disabled? I imagine we don't. So maybe the person, so we don't want to use disabled incorrectly. Disabled means you had an accident on the job and you've been declared disabled. Invalidity is not as a result on the job. So the person is an invalid, medically certified as an invalid. NIB sent them out for assessment. We will pay them that pension for life or as long as the invalidity continues. If the person is at least 16 years of age and has never made contributions, maybe because they have mental retardation or some mental psychosis or something, we will pay them invalidity assistance, which is a small amount. I think it's maybe just about $300 a month. We will pay to that individual as long as they're 16. If the person is over the age of 16 and we're able to make at least 150 contributions, which is 3 years of working, and for some reason they became an invalid, incapable of working, we will pay them invalidity benefit, which pays them the equivalent of, no matter their age, they were age 65 and receiving their full retirement benefit. So they could be 40, and because they have terminal cancer and you're an invalid because of this situation now, we'll pay them as if they're age 65 and receiving 100% of their retirement benefit as long as the invalidity continues. We don't provide payment to caretakers unless the person, through some sort of legal document, is there, whatever, but that's not their money. That's paid in lieu of the person to that caretaker because they are not mentally or whatever able to do so, but we don't offer any such assistance to those persons. Maybe social services, I don't know. Yeah. Yes, there's the invalidity assistance for.
So piggybacking on the question on invalidity and the payment, is it possible for the person?
I can't hear you at all.
Yes. The person who is in receipt of invalidity benefit, if they were to go into business, are they still eligible
No,
to
ma'am.
pay just the 2%?
Invalidity means you are permanently incapable of working.
I'm saying where you mentioned the 2% in terms
So
of,
let me clarify. If you are receiving invalidity and you come in to register a business, we will stop your invalidity. Invalidity says you are permanently incapable of working. You go work and you make contributions, we coming back after you to pay us all our money back. I'm not kidding. We will flag your file, and any benefit you put in for in the future, we take in our money back, all of it that we've ever paid you for invalidity. Invalidity means you are permanently incapable of working, so no. Now, if the person is in receipt of disability or disablement benefit where you got hurt on the job, you can get that for life and continue to work. And so that means whether you work for government, you go back to work, you can continue to get that because you got hurt on the job. So we pay you sort of as remuneration for that loss of faculty or whatever it may be. So if the person is receiving disablement and they want to open a business account and they're self-employed, yes, they can. Or if they're receiving retirement, yes, they can. But invalidity, absolutely not.
Right. Invalids cannot work. That's the whole definition of being an invalid as it relates to NIB. Any further questions? Going once?
You touched on contributions. So is there a set number of contributions you would have had to have made heading up to retirement?
Yes. So retirement benefit, to even qualify, we need to see 500 paid contributions. That's 10 years of working. That's the minimum. The maximum we want to see is 2,000 contributions, which is 40 years, and we use that range to calculate the benefit. A minimum of 10 years of working.
I sit there and I can't hear you with your lovely self. I can need you to ask that again.
No, I was asking her what the formula was in regards to calculating the retirement benefit. I think I remembered the number of contributions.
No, so you take the highest 5 years. That gives you the average insurable wage, which we calculate the benefit on. Then you need a rate of benefit, which starts at 30% for the 500 contributions to a maximum of 60% for 2,000. And then you need the age at which the person applies for the benefit. So there's either you get 100% at 65, you lose 7% per year before the age of 65, or the reverse happens if you're older than 65. So all of that is taken into consideration.
And one more question. What is the age you can get the estimate retirement?
I don't think there's an...
Do you run? You remember they run a report?
No, so you tell us what age you want the estimate to be run at. So if you say you want to get it at age 60, you can get that. 60, yeah. Yeah.
So in other words, I ain't gonna ever reach age of retirement. That's all right. I live with that. I look good for 25. That's my story for the next 50 years. Yes. I roll in with that.
Me and you both.
We on that story. My lady?
Okay, this is just a wrap-up. There was discussion earlier or last year about the insolvency of NIB. Has there been a decision relative to that? And have we worked out something where we're trying to correct that? Because NIB is very important and it really serves a purpose for our country. So has any further discussion been made or decisions made with reference to that?
Not at the moment. So remember, we had the rate increase last year. So that was the first step. We actually put out RFP, which is an invitation for companies to participate in our actuarial review that we actually have happening soon. So once they do their actuarial review on consultation with the ILO, with the government, the International Labor Organization, the Bahamas government, et cetera, further decisions will be made. But at the moment, no, not yet. Yeah.
So the rates, they have increased from 9.8% to 11.3%. That's going to augment a little. And then the self-employed person from 8.8% to 10.3%. That's the issue now. But you can see for the last several years, we seem to have been giving out more benefit than we collecting in. And therefore, that had to be done to try and reconcile the situation. Yeah. Well,
No, they're entitled to.
right. Only those persons who would have done the 10 years contributions. Yeah. Now, there was a time when it was 150, it was 3 years, and that was unfair. They were coming here for 3 years, working, and then going back and we paid them for the rest of their lives. That was unsustainable. Now it is 10 years straight across the border. So you must, and so if we give it to them, that's because they've done the entitlement. They've worked in our country for 10 years, and they're entitled to the benefit, like all of us. Yes.
Any other questions? No? All right, thank you. Good luck.
Welcome to the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation, BCCEC. As the leading voice of the business community, our mission is simple: to ensure that businesses across our islands thrive in a competitive global economy.
The BCCEC provides vital support to businesses of all sizes, from small startups to major enterprises. We advocate for policies that promote growth, connect businesses with resources, and help them navigate any challenges.
By joining the BCCEC, you gain access, exclusive opportunities to connect with industry leaders, advice, expert guidance, and training tailored to support your business, and advocacy. We ensure your voice is heard at the highest levels of government.
The BCCEC is a catalyst for economic development in the Bahamas. We give our members, whether large corporations or small businesses, the tools and support to succeed and grow.
For decades, the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation has been a pillar of stability and progress, influencing policies, driving innovation, and fostering an environment where businesses can flourish.
Join the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce today and be a part of a dynamic network that champions your business. With advocacy, resources, and connections, we're here to help you succeed. A number of governmental agencies. The Chamber is one hub, but we have an ecosystem of support for the business community. That ecosystem of support looks like support through inland revenue, support through some of the banking sectors, support through some of the international organizations, through Bahamas Customs, so much so that you find that there are a lot of things that we do externally. So you've noticed as of late, we had an inbound mission from Canada, which was to help businesses to diversify their distribution channels. That means that you can now access products and services directly from Canada. We also have an outbound to India in about 2 weeks, and that is to help persons in the construction field to get access to the Indian market. So now they're able to import goods and services on a cheaper basis through the Indian market. When we talk about advice, we provide advice from as minuscule as operating your business, understanding how business works, understanding the nuances of being a first-time business owner, looking at when you hit that proverbial wall, which is usually 1 year, 2 years for some businesses, how do you navigate around that? Looking at your pricing structure. You may be priced at competitor pricing, but you really should be priced at premium pricing. And so helping you to determine what goes into the pricing mechanism, what goes into the pricing mix, how you should switch your pricing, looking at your business plan to make sure and determine if it's feasible for a bank to fund, looking at your plan to make sure that, for instance, the SBDC, which is a good partner, they may have an initiative that you want us to peruse your business plan for. And then advocacy. You see us in the newspaper quite a bit. I'm dragged quite a bit because the business standpoint is usually the unpopular one. And so the Chamber says what the business community cannot, because you are concerned about consumers, you're concerned about your customer base, you don't want to unduly, what I would consider, you don't want to actually offend your customers, and so we say what you cannot say. One of the things that we advocated for was they talked about decreasing the work week to 4 days. They talked about the introduction or the extension to maternity leave. All of these things have a deleterious impact on the business community if they're not done in tandem with research and proper guidance. And so these are the things that we would advocate for on behalf of the business community. Why should you be a Chamber member? When you think about it, people often say that the Chamber is for big business, which is not true, because a big business can pick up the phone and call, let's say the Bahamas government, they can call Prime Minister Davis tomorrow and get a response. But what about the smaller businesses who do not have that access? The MSMEs who do not have a complete direct line to the lawmakers or to persons that impact your business. That's where the Chamber comes in. We provide that glue, we provide that net between government agencies, between organizations, between different entities that can help you with your business. And so becoming a member is very simple. Shanisha Ann Burrows, that is our membership relationship officer, who guides you through the process of providing your business license, providing your KYC documents, and a simple application form to help you to become a Chamber member. And the prices are very competitive. We will also provide you with a payment plan. You may say, listen, I like it. I have 2 employees. My fee is $550 a year, but I really can't afford that right now. And so what we can do is help you with a 2 or 3 month payment plan where you pay a portion today and pay a portion over time. What are some of the benefits you get of being a Chamber member? So you have access to free marketing and advertisement. We have social media platforms. We just implemented a WhatsApp channel. We also have a YouTube channel. We have a website. We have our newsletter that comes out each month. And we have different segments. Right now we have a monthly segment on Guardian Radio. And so we provide that access to businesses where they don't have to pay for it. So you join us at any of these events or at any of these pop-ups, you will get to present your business, you get to present your ideas to the public. That is free of charge to you as a member. There's also access to our membership database. So we have thousands of members on one platform, and so as a Chamber member, you may have a sale that's going on one day, and you say, listen, here's my flyer, I need this to be email blast to all of your members within the database. As a member, you have the unfettered right to those other members. Now, we will not give you our membership database for you to contact them yourselves, but we will provide that platform for you to be able to reach a wider audience through our membership base. There's also what we call the Chamber Institute. As a former teacher, that was something that was very near and dear to me to restart right away, because I saw it as an opportunity to help businesses. As an MSME, you may not have a full training and development department. You may not have a full team assigned to customer service, business relationships, helping persons with financial management. And so what the Chamber does is we put those courses on, and you can send your staff to those courses at a very minimal cost. Some of them are actually free. On Friday past, we had a lot of members that were calling about the reduction of the VAT rate and trying to understand how it works. What will they do with their POS systems? How will this impact their customers? And so we reached out to our partner at Inland Revenue, and we said, listen, our members are a bit confused. Can we have a webinar? That was free to members. There were over 200 persons that joined, and we do that on a consistent basis to make sure that persons have an access or an opportunity to some of those things, some of those challenges. So same thing with the Chamber Institute. You reach out to us and say, listen, I'm having a challenge with my staff. They don't understand customer service. They don't understand how to go the extra mile. They don't understand how to provide anticipatory service, or they don't understand how to upsell, cross-sell. And so we curate a program around those needs that you can send your staff to, as opposed to needing an entire training and development department. Another chamber member benefit, is a preferred vendors listing. Now, from time to time, businesses, organizations, international companies will call the chamber and say, listen, we have a project that's going on. We need to know who your members are in this category. And so we will put you in that preferred vendors list where we can send your business to those prospective partners. I'll give you an example. Last night, there was a cocktail reception at the British High Commissioner's home. And it was to launch a gin from the UK that they're looking to incorporate in the Bahamian market. And what he said was, I need a satellite office, I need a team, and I need some distributors. Right away, we were able to provide him with a list of persons within our database who actually provide the services he needs, and a list of persons who were looking for employment in that industry where he can easily access that. And we've seen it over and repeatedly. Atlantis called last week looking for persons in the construction industry. We had a food and beverage franchise that was coming in looking for compostables. And so if you are a chamber member, you now have that access and that preferred vendors listing. Another thing is benefits. We provide what I would consider member discounts. So for instance, just today, I was conversing with my colleague from ChipX, and we were trying to get a reduced rate. Of course, we see what's happening with the tariffs. We see what's happening with the shipping and logistics costs. And so it would be easier to get a reduced rate once it's in country. A reduced rate, yes, at the point of access, but also at the point of entry. And so ShipX, just today, has now decided that every customer who is a chamber member will get an extra 15% off of their goods and services. And so these are the type of things that we do for the members of the Chamber of Commerce. There's also networking. On a quarterly basis, we have what we consider the Bites in Business. It's an opportunity for all businesses to come together, to collaborate, to share ideas, to meet with policymakers, to meet with persons of influence. We give prizes for having your business card, because that's the only way people will be able to reach you, prizes for answering questions, prizes for being engaged, and that helps because what it does is it allows for you to become known, it allows for access. Trade missions. So we have a trade portal that is designed specifically with you in mind. Every time there's an international body that comes in, the first place they want to meet with is the Chamber of Commerce. Why? Because they want to access our goods and services or our market. While we're looking at importing, we also ask them, well, how can we export some of our goods and services to you or to your country? And so that's always in help, because what we do is we provide those opportunities through our trade portal, which you have full, unfettered access to as a chamber member. From time to time, we will list aspects that are happening. So you'll see that we listed our inbound from Canada, which was free. It was at Bahama, and so persons were able to join. We listed our outbound to India, again, free for persons in the construction industry. We have an outbound to Canada that's coming up that should be free, working with the Canadian Embassy here in the Bahamas. So working with them to help to defray the cost, so that should be free. We have an outbound of persons going to Dubai, because there's a pop-up shop that happens every October, and we'll either send the businesses, or we'll send their products and services. And so all of these trade missions are open to you as a chamber member, but you have to first be a member of the Chamber of Commerce first. And if none of these benefits speak to you, you may say, Dr. Roll, I hear all of that, it sounds great, but really that's not for my business. Then the one reason that you should be a chamber member is what I coin as corporate social responsibility. You should be, as a business that has been here before, that has paved the way, looking to support and develop and grow those businesses behind you. And so becoming a part of the Chamber of Commerce helps us to ensure that our mandate and our mission continues so that we can then touch, develop, nurture those new businesses that are coming behind. And so that's how you help to pour into that network. So it's a continuous funnel of businesses that continue to grow, continue to thrive, and continue to expand from small island of the Bahamas to the international destinations around the world. Do you have any questions that I can answer? Yes, ma'am. I'll try to hear you over everything that's happening. So great question. The Chamber of Commerce, while the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce is the New Providence setup or hub, and it is the premier voice of the business community, there is a Chamber of Commerce on almost every island in the Bahamas. And so those chambers, we work directly through them to help. If you are a business on a family island, we will send you back to your chamber if you come to try to get membership with the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce, because we want to make sure that you're developing and growing where you are. And so, for instance, last week, I think it was last week or week before, we worked in tandem with the Abaco Chamber to do a town hall business, boots on the ground business workshop. We did some walkabouts. I met with their board, and we did pop-ups around different areas to help people to become members. So through the Bahamas Chamber, we can provide that support where you say, I'm going to, let's say Grand Bahama, I'm going to Grand Bahama for a weekend. I'm looking for an opportunity to get some new clients. We will link you directly with the Grand Bahama Chamber, who will then take you to the businesses or give you that access to the chamber through that relationship that we've built. Now, by them being a part of the Grand Bahama, Abaco, Eleuthera, Exoma, whichever chamber they are, they access the same benefits. And so it's a reciprocal relationship where we provide that benefit to their members, and they provide that benefit to our members. So to answer your question, we don't physically go and do the pop-ups, but there are chambers of commerce on all of those islands where we can provide you that level of support through those chambers.
Sorry, my lady. I humbly apologize. They got me doing a million things.
Thank you, Biman.
Thank you. So you mentioned a part of your mandate is advocacy. What does that look like? As me having an understanding is that the Chamber of Commerce is a place or would have a portal where consumers can report certain unregulations, etc.
So that's twofold. So on the one hand, yes, consumers can come to us and report our businesses, and what we will do is reach out to the businesses, but we also have a great relationship. Actually, at that town hall last week, we invited the Trade Commission because we work closely with them to get a distribution channel, to get our distribution channels diversified, but we also invited the Consumer Protection Commission because we know that our businesses serve generally consumers. And so we want them to understand some of the do's and don'ts, some of the challenges they're having. And so we will direct you to the Consumer Protection Commission if you are reporting a business, but we will also reach out to our member. On the flip side, if a business is having a challenge, we will advocate for that business. So you may be a business owner, you may have had a challenge with another business. We will take your complaint, lodge that with the Consumer Protection Commission, reach out to that other business, especially if they're a chamber member, but we will also advocate on your behalf. So it may be a challenge that is universal in nature. That's when we get our gears in motion. We're calling around, we're writing articles, we're getting on a soapbox, we're coming out against these things because we want to provide that level of advocacy for you. As simple as just a few minutes ago, a reporter called me talking about a comment that was made yesterday relative to a new holiday. Now, while it looks good on the front end because it's an extra day off, imagine the ripple effect that will have on a business who has to pay overtime, who has to lose an extra day of productivity. And so these are the type of things that we will advocate for. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to get your hands dirty. Let me get dragged. That's my job.
All right.
Hi. Good day. I heard some of the benefits of becoming a member. I probably missed the first minute or two. Is there any benefit inter-member in terms of the various different businesses offering discounts or, you know?
So that's a very good question. That's how the one from ShipX came about. I came from the SBDC before I went to the Chamber of Commerce, so I understand businesses. I have a doctorate in finance, and so I understand how business works. For me, if you are an ecosystem or an organization, you should not, if I have a beverage company, I have a food company, and I have a compostable company all under one umbrella, There is no reason why you should go outside of that network to provide access to your services. And so yes, we do reach out to members, and that's how the ShipX one came about. Lobbying with them to say our members are shipping constantly. We have to do something to provide some level of support to them. Is there a way that you can provide some type of measure of discount using a discount code? We've done the same with some of our members that do business websites, some of our members that write business plans, some of our members who provide the VAT filing returns. You can all come through the chamber and say, well, here's my chamber discount, here's my membership card, you get an extra 10 or 15% off. But we also encourage that interconnectivity and collaboration during our quarterly mixers, because that's the only way that all of the businesses are together in one room, other than at our AGM, which is usually once a year, or at our National Chamber of Conclaves, National Conclave of Chambers of Commerce, which is where all of the Family Island chambers come together for a day of collaboration. So in order to bring those businesses together consistently, we do a quarterly mixer where you have an opportunity to meet most of the businesses in our network. So yes, there is.
So, depending on the size and type of business and the cost that it would become, cost that it would be to become a member of the chamber, would you suggest, because let me ask you something first. There are a lot of bodies that represent different companies, like the mom and pop shops. They have their own umbrella.
Associations.
Is that umbrella logged in with, say, SPDC or?
With SPDC?
I mean with y'all.
So that's a great question. There are different tiers of membership, as you began to say. You can be as minuscule as a one-man band, and you can be a chamber member, or you can have 300-400 members and be a chamber member. The beauty and the uniqueness of the chamber is we support all businesses or organizations, whether you support businesses or not. So I'll give you an example. The Contractors Association is an association that is directly related to businesses in the construction field. Those businesses, I'll give you an example. Stone Oak is a business that is under the Contractors Association. Stone Oak is a chamber member, and so is the Contractors Association. The Consumer Protection Commission is an organization that supports businesses or consumers of businesses. Those businesses are members of the chamber, and so is the Consumer Protection Commission. The Small Business Development Center is an entire organization that supports businesses. Hundreds of their members are chamber members, and so is the Small Business Development Center. So there's a tier for businesses, and there's a tier for special organizations, or nonprofits that we would call them.
So any query that I have relative to a matter, and I'm one of those persons member, then I would have to go through them to get to you?
No. So you can come to us directly, and we can do a joint strategizing to actually get you to your solution. Or you can go to them, and they'll more than likely come to us and say, listen, we have a complaint from your XYZ member, we need you to get it sorted out. So we can do it in tandem, or we can do it separately. But I can tell you, if you complain to the Consumer Protection Commission, it comes to us anyway. If you complain to the SPDC, chances are it will come to us anyway. And so we work together to get remedies for all of our clients.
Okay, so my final question would be,
Sure.
How large is the joining fee
I don't understand what you mean.
to be a chamber member?
What do you mean, how large?
Cost.
So the fees go from $250 all the way up to $4,500 and some, depending on the size. Not the nature of your business, but the size. Well, nature to an extent, because if you're a nonprofit or professional services, it's a flat rate of $1,000. But if you are a one-man band, it's $250 a year. If you have two employees up to 26, it's $550. And then as you continue to progress with the employee count, the cost also continues to progress.
Okay, so you just put to rest the fear that most people have.
I know.
Because most people think that
It's very costly.
the chamber is a big time people association.
I agree that has been the vernacular that I've heard since I've joined. I just got there in May of last year, so I'm not even a year yet. And what I'm trying to do is dispel that myth by providing full transparency as to what our costs are. It's very cost effective, but also even the $385 to a large business may be a drop in the hat, but to an MSME, that may be a lot. And so that's why I said, listen, let's do a payment plan where it's 3, 6 months to give those persons an opportunity to say, I can only afford $100 a month, I can only afford $50 a month, but I want to be a member. We can do that for you.
The years following independence, the Bahamas Development Bank has carried out our mandate of expanding and diversifying the nation's economy. We invest in Bahamian companies from Grand Bahama in the north to Inagua in the south. Our clients come from all sectors of domestic industry. We are proud to support local manufacturing, technology, agricultural projects, and creative works that draw from our native heritage. We will continue to finance inter-island transport from the mailboats of yesterday to the ships of the future. Let us power the possibilities of the new economy together. We are always looking for the next great opportunity to invest in creativity, innovation, and sustainability. Visit our website at www.bdb.gov.bs to complete your application today.
Thank you very much. It is always a privilege to speak in these forums and to represent the Bahamas Development Bank. We are probably the country's best kept secret when it comes to lending for entrepreneurs. So a little about us. So at the Development Bank, we are the country's only development bank. We are the catalyst for economic expansion. What that simply means is that we are here to ensure that Bahamians have an opportunity to own their own business. So unlike other institutions, financial institutions, the bank has a focus as well as it has a mandate. So we are governed by an act outside of the other banks that are governed by the central bank. So we are governed by the act, and we are only mandated to provide funding specifically for industries. Now, what these industries look like: manufacturing. We'd love to see more Bahamians venture into authentically made Bahamian products, not just for sales, retail sale here, but also for export. You know, we travel, some of us travel the world, some of us travel, and I'm not sure if you get as excited as I do. I love to see our name, the Bahamas, made in the Bahamas, in so many different places. I'm very, very intentional on buying Bahamian products. So I always tell people, if you see me with a little bag with somebody else's name on it, it was a gift. Because I'm never going to go in a store and buy something if it's not made by Bahamians. And so working for a development bank, it's something that we encourage a lot. Make Bahamian, buy Bahamian, sell Bahamian. So that's in the manufacturing space. You can get as much as $600,000 as a startup or existing business to actually manufacture your product. And then we have the fishing and agricultural industry. So one of the things that we like to promote is our relationship that comes under the United Nations. And what that means is that we are aligned with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Most importantly, as a country, we have to be able to feed ourselves. We have to be able to clothe ourselves. We have to be able to employ Bahamians. We have to be able to provide housing. All of this comes under economic expansion for this country. So fishing, agriculture, and then we have the tourism space. What does that look like? Have you come up with an idea to entertain the thousands and thousands of Bahamians that come into this country? Are you doing the same as Jack? Are you doing the same as John? What is your product? How innovative is it? Are the tourists entertained by it? What's so unique about your product? It is a very intense space because everyone's trying to get into the tourism industry. Outside of working in the industry, we have a lot of businesses that provide opportunities for the Bahamian, for tourists to have a good time. So yes, we're familiar with jet skis, we're familiar with power sailing. What else is there for the tourists to do when they come here? We have a number of tours that's happening throughout this country. What is your unique contribution to this industry? So when you come into the development bank seeking funding, there are two things that we like to ask, there are two things that we like to see. How innovative is this business? How creative is this business? What does this look like in the market? Did you do a proper marketing analysis? Is this a niche market? Do you know your consumers? So we look at all of that when you come into the bank for funding. In a lot of instances, people don't do the work. I love when you have an idea and you want to bring it to fruition. But when you come into the bank and you have an idea, you're not selling the idea because this idea has not existed. So we're looking at your business plan. What is captured in this business plan that sells a very unique idea? That is what we're looking for at the development bank. When you do your competitive analysis, if your business model is very similar to another business, what makes your business so unique as opposed to your competitors? What is the advantage? Know your competitors. All of these things are important when it comes to funding. So we've covered the manufacturing industry, we've covered agriculture, we've covered fishing, we've covered tourism, then we have transportation. So transportation is so broad and it has grown over the years. So not so long ago you had the taxi cab drivers taking the tourists around at the various historical sites. Then you have the jet ski, which is under transportation as well. You have the tour buses. So now you can go downtown and you see these little mini authentic little cars. I call them little carriages that tourists can jump on and drive around town. You have the ATVs. All of these things are now new and innovative and exciting for tourists. But what else are you going to offer the tourists? What other aspect of entertainment in this industry that speaks to transportation that you're thinking about offering the tourists? So we're looking at businesses that have opportunities to expand this industry or in this industry and who's looking for funding. Then we have Airbnb. So the Development Bank has partnered very recently with TDC, Tourism Development, on the Airbnb space. It is a new thing, but the bank has now focused on the family islands. So we're pretty saturated here, and what we found is that, you know, the hotels here, tourists tend to want more space as opposed to being in one room, next to another room, next to another room, where they're so congested. So there's an initiative by the government to really focus on the family of islands and really pushing tourists into that direction. What does that mean for the Development Bank? It's culture for us. I think we've become a city. We offer very similar things that these persons can find when they leave home or when they return home. But each island have their single most characteristic trait. So you can't compare Andros to Exuma. They offer something explicitly culturally different. And so when we're looking at Airbnb, you don't want to isolate tourists when they visit the island by saying, hey, you can stay here. You now need to capture the essence of the island. So you have to provide tours, you have to provide opportunities for them to find food. So we were just in Exuma, and after a certain time, they cut off. So you can't find food at a certain time in the evenings. The grocery stores are so far and few in between. And so when you think about Airbnb, you want to make this an explicit and complete experience. So that's what we're looking for in terms of how we look at a business plan, a business model, and an opportunity in that space. Renewable energy. Are we really utilizing waste around here? You know, that's something that we would like to expand, explore just a little bit more, and really create a product out of an idea in the renewable energy space. You have technology. Everybody's talking about solar. Everybody's talking about green climate. How do we now save the world? Well, let's move past what was always the norm and how we consume energy. Let's see how you can create a business in this space so that we can now climatize the Bahamas. We have to start here. It's one thing to go outside looking for ideas. Always think about what we need here. For example, you go in the food store, you don't see a particular item in there. You go into another store, I don't see this item. Then I find that it's in this store, but it is, the asking is just so onerous that it's outside of what is normally affordable. So we have to think outside of the box as this country grows continuously, not just for us, but also for generations after us. What product is there that you can take this product and you can now build this product? Your consumer is always changing. That's the thing we look at. When we're looking at your business plan, we're thinking, okay, do you have a succession plan? Do you have a exit plan? Because now your consumer no longer buys your soap. So I can't sell soap. My consumer liked it at the time. How do I now begin to diversify? We like to see that in a business plan because you have to really think through starting a business. This isn't, oh, I'm going to get up, I'm going to open this brick and mortar. People are just going to come in. I'm going to get 1,000 clients in a day. It does not work that way. Every corner, every alley, every road, every business that sits on that corner, that alley, that road is your competitor. Whether they're selling the same product or not, they're your competitors because you want the people that go into that business to come and patronize your business. No, they're not selling what you're selling, but then something over there, there's a focus there. There's a marketing strategy that was done right there that you want to now introduce your products to those consumers over there. So it's a fight constantly in a very competitive market. You want to make sure that your product is not sitting in a space where it's speculative. You're not sure if you're going to find the consumer here to patronize your business. So we look at all of this when we look at a business plan when you come into the bank. So we also look at experience. You cannot wake up one morning, we all do it. I feel like I want to make ice cream. You have absolutely no experience, but it's more than ice cream. It's business acumen. You need to skill up in order to function in a world where businesses are constantly growing, changing. Consumers are growing, they're changing. The demand is so short-lived that you have to make sure that you have a product that's consistently selling, that you're upgrading, that you're diversifying. It makes absolutely no sense if you're selling this one product every day. You just beat this horse over and over. Somebody's going to buy it. Someone's coming in today. But then businesses have not learned to pivot. So there are skill sets that you need to have. There's experience in industries that you need to have because you need to understand the market. You need to understand your consumer. So all of these things we look for when you come into the bank. Your business license. We always encourage people to incorporate your business name. Sole proprietorship is one thing. That means you as an individual, you are still party to a loan, not necessarily your business, because you're John Doe trading ads. So every banking detail attached to your name, the bank looks at. So John at Fidelity, John at Scotia, John at Omni, John, you have like 50 loans, you only pay back 2. Yeah, but my business is borrowing the money. No, you are. You're a sole proprietorship. So what that means is you are the guarantor to the business. So we really encourage persons to incorporate their business. So the company becomes the guarantor. Most people don't think like that. But in the long run, you can add directors and shareholders, and it becomes a part of your succession plan. You have children, that are at a certain age where you're ready to retire. You can now pass this business on to another shareholder. It doesn't work that way with a sole proprietorship. So you have to understand the legalities of these types of documents for your business. So we're going to hit on financial literacy. One of the biggest challenges we have with existing businesses coming into the bank. So 4 out of every 10, we see existing businesses coming in for funding. So financial literacy is understanding how to manage your affairs as a business owner. One, understand how to manage it as an individual. And two, particularly as a business owner, because when you come into the bank, we like to see historical financials. Why? Because it determines the viability of a business, the sustainability of a business. That tells us whether this business is only going to last for another 2 more years, or the profitability of the business. What that means is when we're looking at your historical financials, you can't pay Mary or John, who come to move some things out of your yard from your business account because you selling dresses. One has nothing to do with the next. You can't have a business running under your personal name. You're not running a business. You're running a tuck shop. So you come into the bank, these are my statements. How do we justify your revenue? Well, that $5 there, that was for the cup I sold, that $3, we don't know that. So it's very difficult to extrapolate from those documents what your business earnings are. If you are going to run a business, run it well, run it sound, run it to the point where when you need to go to the bank for funding, you can now lay out your statements from your business bank account. When you do your projections, we can now say, okay, this business in 2024 made $100. You're now adding to your product line. So you're anticipating in your projections that you're going to make another $50. We could justify that by historical financials. But if you pay your home light bill and your school fees from your business account, you're really doing your business a disservice. And it is a tendency that we have here in the Bahamas for business owners that we couple all of our financials together. Scotiabank cannot take out your loan payment for the vacation money that you borrowed from your business bank account. You have to separate it because it really tells you how viable and profitable your business is and whether you're running it well. So when we talk about financial literacy, I think it's important to get some financial understanding as to how you should be running this business. You have to know when you need to pull back on your expenses, cut some expenses, or cut your losses. Only one of two things happen. You cut your losses, that means your business is not sustainable because your overhead, your expenses are too high, and your net profit is minimal that you really cannot sustain even an additional debt that your business needs to take on. So we've not done a really good job of really understanding how businesses should be managed. And we see it all the time. We see projections. One of the things that we failed at is when we create projections. So every business plan has a 3-year projection. So when we look at the projection, there are 50 businesses like yourself. But these 50 businesses, each one of them make $200 every year. You're coming in hard and heavy. You're making $2 million every year. All of a sudden, your startup business has the monopoly. You have not even introduced yourself to consumers. So you want to make sure that your projections, if you're an existing business, align with your historical financials. Always be conservative. Always be realistic. Make sure that when you are projecting for a startup business that you understand, one, the consumer, two, the market. Because if the market says that there are 50 types of businesses very similar to yours, make sure your projections are conservative so that your net profit is very healthy. Do not start with a very heavy expense for your startup business. And it is advantageous that startup businesses, the owner does not collect a salary for 5 years at least. So if you make $1 million, your expenses are $300,000, you have $700,000 left. Don't become ambitious and pay yourself $500,000 of the $700,000. Then you have to go back to the bank looking for money because you took all the money home to do other things. Reinvest in your business. That's what banks like to see. They like to see that you're managing your financial affairs at all times. So what we look for in terms of funding, we look for a business plan. We look for a business license. We like to see quotes. We want to see quotes for life insurance. We want to see quotes for asset insurance and your regular KYC documents. Yes? Any questions? I was only given 10 minutes. I don't want to be greedy. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, in terms of the touristic aspect.
Yes, ma'am.
In terms of the location in Family Islands, are you providing incentive different for the Family Island from Nassau? Because I understand, it's been my understanding that the banks would only give you 90% investment equity if it's in Nassau, but maybe 50% if it's in the Family Island. Is the development bank protocol similar?
It's not.
Or what is it?
It's not. So we don't, so when it comes to, in the tourism space, this is very important. When you're coming up with an idea as to a business and how you're going to service the tourist, it's important to know, which Bahamians don't do a very good job at, because the information is there online. Know what percentage of the tourists that come into our country goes to that particular island. Then you know what you're working with in terms of that industry. So we don't have different caveats that separate Nassau from any other family islands. Funding is there for everybody. So if only 2% of the tourist population go to Exuma, then you know you're working with 2% of the tourists that visit, and you want to provide something really substantial for them to want to come back.
But I was thinking about the equity in the land. So if the land is valuable, what percentage collateral?
Specifically. So your equity injection is 10%. Your collateral is what we need to talk about. So on the Family Island, most of the islands, you actually have commonage, generation property. Yes. So we find that we are faced with those two, or crown land. The bank can only have an interest in something that's conveyed over to you. If you're intending to borrow $100,000, the value of your collateral must be equal to that amount. We do consider equity, which is 10% injection. So if you've done some work on your property and it's justifiable, we can say that you've already contributed to the equity in the project. And that will no longer be a requirement for the bank. Any more questions? I'm here. No? So, you know where we are. Someone mentioned earlier that we're still out west. We're actually on Key West Street and Robinson Road. We thought that we should come to the people and not stay away from the people. So we have relocated. I'm Alicia Butler. I'm the manager of credit. I have my colleague over there, Miss Chaltania Deal. So if you have any questions, we're going to sit over there for a little while. All right? Thank you so much.
We believe in relationship banking. We take pride in getting to know our clients. You have access to knowledgeable, approachable ambassadors and financial coaches so that we can recommend the best product for you. At Fidelity, we care about you. From your financial health to your physical health, we can relate to you because we're just like you. Come and start your relationship banking experience with us today. Visit us online at fidelitygroup.com. Visit any of our branches in Nassau or Grand Bahama, or phone 356-7764 in Nassau or 352-6676 for Freeport.
What can Fidelity Bank do for you? Exchange. So we're giving you quality product, and we are in return expecting your business so that we can help you in other ways. That is expanding your relationship by offering business loans and business credit cards from your merchant services and you having a bank account with us. So that is the exchange process of what Fidelity can do for you. All right, we also offer easy banking and fast merchant account opening processes, direct communication. You're not speaking to someone in Trinidad, you're speaking to someone right here at the Palmdale branch, the Frederick Street branch, the Wolf Road branch, and you are giving business to Bahamians who are here to help you and readily assist wherever we can. We're also reliable, and we're offering easy-to-use merchant terminals and payment processing, and we're offering e-commerce payment gateways. So pay buttons embedded onto your website, full checkout features if you're purchasing items or products. And we also offer a text-to-pay option as well, whereas you can essentially just get your customer's cell phone number if you need them to pay. You text them what their invoice would be, and immediately they tap the link in text, and they can enter in their card details and pay immediately. And we also offer a click-to-pay bill presentment. So if you may have customers that are on the family island and you're needing them to pay for your services, all you do is basically email an invoice to them, and in that invoice would be a link for them to click and pay. So that's how you can get family islanders to pay with their debit cards versus them just sending wires and transfers. All right, and again, we also offer point-of-sale systems. Now, if you may be a restaurant business, we have the full POS system set up, whereas we have the screen that's transmitted from your system in the kitchen so that orders can be reciprocated effectively and timely. So we offer the full setup to get you set up for your business, or if you just have a convenience store or a gas station or just selling little antiques, we do have full POS systems where you have the screen, the cash register, and the printer to get you set up for what your business needs. And this here is just a few photos of what some of our terminals look like. So the first one is the Wizard Q1 terminal that has the buttons on it. So that one is more sturdy. We give those to persons that has outside businesses, like we have a lot of beach vendors, taxi drivers. Those ones are more sturdy and allows you to use it handheld, so it's very easy to hold and easy to use, just pressing the buttons in for transactions. The top model is our Q2 terminal. It has a glass interface. It's more suitable for indoor businesses, so very easy to use. All of them have the same capabilities. And the Q3 terminal, the very handheld one that looks like a phone, it's efficient. It doesn't have a printer for businesses on the go. When you want to accept payments instantaneously, you can also email your customers receipts using the Q3 terminal. And again, all of our terminals accept credit and debit cards, gift cards that can be enabled to accept those forms of payments. It records cash and checks transactions. You can also sign on the screen of our terminals to capture the signature. Again, email receipts. If you have like a restaurant business that needs to use this, you can also apply cash discounts, input a tip function, or input VAT as well. And you can also have a transaction manager so that you can check all of your logs for all of your transactions that you would have swiped for that day. You can look into the terminal, get your report, and see all of your sales for that day as well. So all of the terminals have this capability. All right, so just a brief insight of how e-commerce works if you have a website. So step one, customer selection. So customer would choose a product. So let's say, for example, you're selling shoes. You select the shoe that you want, and you would just have it added into your cart. Step 2, the payment gateway. So once you enter in your payment information, it's securely transmitted. Step 3, the authorization process. So the gateway requests payments, authorizations from your card processor or your bank. An authorization response is step 4, wherein which the processor checks funds and sends an approval or decline. So like if you go to the store, there may be a weird linkage. If you ever go to the store and your card just declines and you're like, well, I have funds on my account, why did my card decline? There may be a little discrepancy in terms of what's going on with your account in your bank, or there may be insufficient funds, but that is what the process of e-commerce is. And last but not least, the transaction is complete and the funds are transferred immediately to your account with us. All right. Lastly, the customer receives an order confirmation and the merchant receives the confirmation that the payment has successfully went through. All right, and then this is just how our bill presentment looks. Again, the email invoicing option. So how this works is the merchant will basically upload an invoice and send all of the invoice information into our transaction manager. Next, an email is sent to the customer with the invoice information, and in that invoice is a link for them to redirect the customer to the payment window into the transaction manager in charge anywhere where you can make your payments. And step 3, once the transaction is complete, both the customer and the merchant will receive an email with the responsive transaction completed. Lastly, the merchant can also customize and design however they want this bill presentment. And you can add in your logo, have in your own information and special messages, and change the colors and design of your invoice. All right, so how can you get started? This is my favorite question. This is the most important question. So all you need to get started is interest. Be serious about upgrading your business. Be serious about accepting payments from your customers. A valid business license. So starting next week, we will no longer accept 2024 licenses. So please get your 2025 licenses for you to get started. And a valid ID. So your passport or driver's license is acceptable to get started, and this is essentially all you need to open up an account if your company is not a limited company and just a standard sole proprietorship. Okay, and then also depending on the application and maybe the type of businesses, some things may be required. Okay? And that is basically the end of our presentation. My contact information is on the screen if you're interested in any of the products that I would have mentioned. And we thank you for your time and hope you enjoyed the presentation.